Here's to purposely broken bones, sharing a casket with your veiled lover in symbiosis of perpetuity. Costello stared at the television, haunted by what he just watched. The series sat on pause for nearly a half hour before he built the courage to check his calendar and his phone. If he confirms his whereabouts on the date of this couple's murder, he can either go on about his business or go get the external device he'd safely packed away, hoping to never see again. A quick check of 2 calendars lit the flame for possible culpability. Now he'd need to muster up the strength to pull out the external storage device because, just his luck, Costello was in Seattle for the Spirits Expo on the date they were murdered. It had been 7 years since he had any reason to bring it out. He'd quit drinking, there were no more blackouts, and his imaginary guests were gone. The USB external device was a bit of a relic, so he couldn't look at the contents just yet. His epoch free from anxiety, drunkenness, and agoraphobia was sadly shifting back to a dystopian zeitgeist. The device contained hours of video Costello recorded of himself back in 2017 during his heavy drinking and mourning of Jenna. Specifically what he did after shaving himself in a bathtub filled with ice water. He wasn't certain, but after getting out of the ice water, Costello may have incriminated himself in a murder he hadn't yet committed. Laptops are dinosaurs now. Everything functions solely on tablets, glass tops, and cloud imaging. There isn't much data hidden anymore. Technology is rapidly evolving, and we are letting it eat our privacy as it swells. As a matter of fact, there are engineers who know Mr. Eldridge just finished episode 3 of this murder series on a Samsung 60-inch glass panel at his address, streamed on Spectrum Internet with an Apple TV 16K. He needs to get his hands on a laptop with a USB port and Wi-Fi he can turn off. Costello hadn't spoken with his father in nearly 6 years. He sat and stared at a cup of coffee, pondering whether or not he should reach out to Pops, since he knew he'd be able to obtain the electronic hardware he needed to safely view the video on this external drive. His dad left United Steelworkers shortly after they moved from New Hampshire to Southern California. Costello's mother made enough money for his father to seek out alternative employment. That employment he landed was working at a pawn shop, giving him the hours he wanted, the freedom he wanted, and plenty of time to fill himself with the booze he required to isolate him from his family. Costello decided he could let bygones be bygones and go meet with his dad to see if there would be a laptop or device he could use to plug in this external device and stay completely off radar. As with any other hiatus between father and son, Costello's father knew the only reason he'd come around was because he needed something. It was difficult for Costello to explain the need for this help without specifically telling him what he was doing. At this point in Costello's life, he determined he had enough leverage against his dad to just look him squarely in the eye and demand his help. He sat and drank 2 Cokes while Pops finished a 5th of Wild Turkey. He sat through this, giving him the opportunity to speak his mind and do any reminiscing he felt necessary. In the end, Costello walked out with an old MacBook Pro that still had USB capability and all functionality to kill all Wi-Fi. Costello's father, Elliot Aldridge, was on probation for the second DUI in less than 12 months. However, this wasn't the basis of their conversation. Elliot needed to know about the last days Costello spent with Granz before he passed. Costello was very clear that the time he spent with Granz was in no way a form of vengeance against his father. This was quality time he felt spending with his grandfather would help him evolve as a person, since his own father was occupied by barflies, random girlfriends, and an occasional low-end coke dealer. There was enough of a schism between the two, but they each realized whatever help the other needed, they would provide. Other than that, they would go their separate ways once again. Before Costello left, his father said, "I have one more question." He was curious if Costello used the $20,000 Granz left him appropriately. Costello just looked over at his father and said, "It's been so long, I don't know what you think appropriate is any longer." Costello just turned and walked away.